Hey folks, welcome to Into the Inkland's third set of Lorcana, and I wanted to share my first deck tech that I have enjoyed working on for this set, and this is essentially around the new item, Lucky Dime. Lucky Dime, what does it do? It's very expensive, it's 7 cost. You can exert it, pay 2 ink, choose a character of yours to gain lore equal to their lore. So the whole idea was like, wow, maybe we can kind of steal some games or just get a bunch of instant lore with really high lore cards, correct? And the two I kind of had in mind was Tamatoa. With a bunch of items, he's going to get more lore with every one. So he potentially could have as low as 1, but he could have as high as however many items you can get on the board. And another one is Bell. And what I've really enjoyed about this deck is that it gives it, this is a blue-red, it was very popular in set 2 as a Popsicles deck, but definitely fell out of favor for Ruby Amethyst and more traditional stuff, and I do think it is better in this set. Now, is it competitive with everything else? I think that's still up for debate, but it now has a top end that it didn't have before. The problem with a card like Belle was that you played her onto the field, presumably on 9 ink or more, and she had to sit there a whole turn, so you paid 4 for nothing. And usually folks are going to target her because they obviously don't want you questing for 5. But now, if you play Belle and you have a Lucky Dime, you immediately get 5. So even if they deal with her, you've already gotten 5 lore out of her. That is very worth, paying 4 ink to gain 5 lore. Most people would probably play that if there was a card that just said that. And then obviously she becomes an even bigger threat because if they don't deal with her, not only did you get 5 lore instantly for playing her, you're threatening to quest for 5 next turn, as well as use the Bell for an additional 5. So that's 15 lore, all from one little card. Flaversham, as well as the Popsicles, are the bread and butter combo. Flaversham's going to let you break the Popsicles, keep digging deeper and deeper. Nick Wilde, we just have one of his. Usually you don't want to use Nick Wilde. The idea is to ramp up very quickly to get to the Lucky Dime, because the Lucky Dime is very expensive. So to ramp, we have, of course, 4 Fishbone Quill. We do have 1 Heart of Tefiti. Overall, I think this is worse than the Fishbone Quill. There are a few instances it is nice in which the game is going very slow, or if you don't have card draw. If you don't have card draw, you can't really afford to use the Fishbone Quill to ink the cards in your hand, because you're not going to refill your hand and you're just top decking. The Heart of Tefiti lets you ramp up an ink without using the cards in hand, just uses the top of your deck. It's also very good if someone happens to be running discard against you when you're not going to have a hand anyway. However, it's still very slow because it doesn't do anything the turn it comes out, turn 3, whereas Fishbone Quill can be used immediately. It also puts the ink in exerted, unlike Fishbone Quill, so you can't use it immediately. So it is slow, but I have found 1 copy to be useful in a couple areas. Scrooge's Top Hat is nice to just fill out item amounts for Tamatoa, so that way he's already on 4 or 5 lore when he comes down, and it makes all your Popsicles free, which is very nice, and if you can get both out, it also makes the Lucky Dime cost 5, which is huge. I did try Scrooge originally, but I just think he's too clunky and too situational to try to get that whole Scrooge play the Lucky Dime for free. And Maui's Fish Hook. If you were running red this set, I think you have to be running both the Fish Hook and Maui himself. Locations are quite strong, and when you have some big locations like this McDuck Manor, right, this has 9 health. Well, there's nothing that hits that hard naturally, but Maui, with his Fish Hook, means you can bump him up to 9, and this is the beefiest location we have so far. He can take out any location in the set, and it lets him take out the Queen's Castle, the RLS Legacy. He can just one-shot all of those. And the evasive is not to be overlooked either, as you can now quest with a character like Belle, like Tamatoa, and you give it evasive until the start of your next turn, which makes it very difficult for your opponents to deal with. It feels like the evasive was originally on here again so that Maui himself can take out evasive targets, which is also very nice. But yeah, you can use it defensively as well to help protect some of your board. Other than that, since the whole goal, the blue is really what's going to carry us lore-wise. Red is mainly in here for our removal aspects. Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, again, a good top end. You could just knock anything out on the board, and it hits for 7, so it will take out most locations in one shot, unless you draw it early, which is what I always do. Hades, just solid removal. Same with Lady Tremaine. Some people I know are very high on Madame Medusa. Honestly, it's your choice. I think both cards are good. I think they both have their uses. I prefer Tremaine just because Tremaine at her worst always gets rid of a character, whereas Madame Medusa at her worst can't actually target anything. She has some great targets in the meta currently, but I have run into some matches where I've tried her, they have a goat, or they have a fox, or they have a Maui, or a Tamatoa, or whatever the card is, that it's just like, oh, she can't target that, Jim Hawkins, whereas Tremaine will get something. So I personally prefer Tremaine, but if you want to do Madame Medusa, that's fine too. Cogsworth is mainly in here for the steel matchup. specifically the steel green, the discard. They can't infinite combo you if you have Cogsworth because of the resist, so he's very good, but often I'll ink him unless I'm against that specific matchup. And then all of these cards are just in here against early aggression because this deck is a bit slow. It wants to take its time to ramp up, and if someone goes fast against you, you got to have something to get rid of them. Queen of Hearts is just a rush card that's inkable. Stitch, I like the card. I like that it hits for 3. But the fact that it only has 1 health is kind of frustrating to me, as it means it'll die to almost anything. You know, if they put down the purple Maleficent that quests for 2, it'll trade with that, whereas Queen of Hearts and Hey Hey will survive. Hey Hey is actually a bit nice, too, with McDuck Manor. Because when he moves to a manor, you steal 1 lore. On occasion, I've gotten multiple manors out and have Hey Hey just bounce back and forth between the 2. But you can really put anything in here as long as it helps with early aggression. You can do a Cruella de Vil, anything that's going to help just try to stave folks off. And then Scrooge, he's really only good on turn 2, because ideally what you would want is like Popsicle turn 1, Scrooge turn 2, and if you have the Fishbone Quill, the ultimate turn is you quest with Scrooge. Fishbone Quill now costs 2. You put something in through the quill, so you should have 2 ink now because you inked for the turn on 3. You plop down the top hat and then play another Popsicle for free. That's the ultimate turn. Doesn't always line up, so I don't think Scrooge is necessary per se, but I do still enjoy him and I wanted to give him a try. And then Nothing to Hide is just more card draw. Be Prepared is the only song we're running, so usually you can avoid the green Ursula ripping it out of your hands unless you happen to have it early. And again, just it's board control. And finally, just McDuck Manor. It has a ton of health. Quest for 2. There's no reason to move there other than with Hey Hey, but it's just a big, big manor that they essentially have to deal with. And locations in general, to me, it feels like if you're ahead, they just push you further ahead because now they have this location to deal with on top of all your characters. But if you're behind, they're not really going to help you catch up. But you should see a few matches here that get to show it off. So yeah, that's the whole goal. Ramp up quickly, get to a Tamatoa, get to a Lucky Dime, and try to just get some very quick lore as fast as you can. So let's see how it performs in some of these matches. All right, first we're going against Ruby Amethyst. As you can see, I draw Maleficent Dragon turn 1 because that's just the card I always have turn 1 for the game. I do keep the Fishbone Quill. Other than that, what you're really looking for is right there, Popsicle, Fishbone Quill, Heart of Tefiti, I guess if you can't get the Quill, and a Flaversham. Those are probably the only things I'm really, really looking for. Popsicle turn 1 is what you always want. I'm set up to do the Scrooge's Hat on the next turn. If you ever have Scrooge's Hat, Popsicle, and Nothing to Hide, I always do Nothing to Hide turn 1, scope their hand, because turn 2 you can play the hat and then immediately play the Popsicle for free as well. We draw in a Flaversham. Since I'm not under any pressure, I don't feel the need to jam out Stitch or Hey Hey. And we are now set up for a bigger turn on turn 3, since I've got the hat out. There's the Cusco. So I opt to put out the Quill, ink the Heart of Tefiti. Again, you generally don't need both, especially if you have a Flaversham. I don't really care about killing a Cusco. I don't want them to draw cards, so I'm happy to just send the Stitch away. And here we are going to, after he does his friends, probably just put out Flaversham. Or do I do the McDuck Manor? McDuck Manor's not bad to get online, especially this early. And I'm a little greedy here. It's probably best to hold on to Maui, especially if they drop their own location. But I'm thinking, well, I've got the Flaversham, so I should be able to, again, recur some of my card draw, which is, of course, what I'm going to do next. Break your Popsicle. Especially against Ruby Amethyst, Cogsworth isn't very good here. Just because he's going to get Be Prepared away anyway. I just move him to the manor. There's no reason to, just to be cute. And we're in an okay spot. We're already up to 7 ink. Our opponent's on 5. Generally, the first time we're going to have to worry about something is turn 6, where, again, they can do a Madame Medusa, which does easily deal with a Flaversham. And here's where I wish I'd had that Maui. I'd have kept it, because I could take out this... Well, I can't take out the Legacy, but I could at least put 6 damage on it. So he's getting ready to rush ahead. Tremaine. So here's an instance where Tremaine isn't great. Granted, not that Medusa would be great either, because she can't hit Jim Hawkins. So really, I'm more like, well, I've ramped up all the way to 9. Let's try to find a Be Prepared. No such luck. And I put away the dime. I know he's just going to get rid of the Cusco, but I'm not confident I can draw into Be Prepared. Just want to establish some board presence and something to potentially put pressure on that Queen's Castle. What a location, man. 2 lore plus they get to draw a card. That's just insane. Very, very strong card. And so there's his own Madame Medusa. He oddly takes out the Tremaine, which I thought was a little weird, but maybe he thinks I'm not gonna, like, to me, I would cut off my draw engine, which is the Flaversham. So there, you can play the Popsicle for free off the hat. Unfortunately, Bell not doing a whole lot for us at the moment, so we're going to try to dig a little deeper. I do get the dime, and so here I've got a choice. I do go for the Tamatoa, get back a Popsicle, which even if I'd used up all my ink, again, can play it for free. So that feels pretty nice. Now we ink a Bell. Now I'm in an okay spot right now. Yeah, our opponent's got a lot of lore on board, but I've got a Bell and a Lucky Dime in hand. So they'll get 2 from the castle, 2 from Jim. And actually, I'm looking, so check this out. I'm actually on lethal right now, right? Like, because all I have to do, Tamatoa, if I drop the dime next turn, Tamatoa will quest for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would put me +2 from the McDuck Manor, 10, I'd go to 15, and then I just use the dime and I win. So I'm literally on like, the only thing that stops me is a goat bounce here. Hey, wouldn't you know it? It's a goat and a bounce. So our opponent had it there, fair to them. But yeah, I just want to show you that kind of, the reason I kept this in here too is I wanted to show you that kind of power that, other than the goat bounce to instantly win that turn, we're set up to win on our turn, even on 8 lore, because of the dime and the Tamatoa, which is very strong. And what you can do too is you can drop the dime, increase Tamatoa's lore, quest with Tamatoa, get another item, you can get a free Popsicle off the hat, and then the dime is going to add 1 more lore to the total as well. So, all right, next game is against old Lemon Lime. So I'm anticipating aggro. Not a great hand. I think I may keep this now. I give up the Stitch too. I just kind of want the ink. And so we just hold on to... There's our turn 1 Maleficent Dragon without fail. Not amazing. Don't have anything for Flaversham. We do at least have nothing to hide, so we have 1 form of card draw. And our good old turn 1 ink Maleficent Dragon. And be prepared is unfortunately a little early too, because if they have the Ursula, they can just rip it out of our hand. Take a peek at their hand. Running the Pride Lands. That sounds fun. We got our second Maleficent Dragon. There we go. Ready to ink that on turn 2 as always. That's what that card's for. You don't actually play it. Now, I can run the Stitch out here, but I just go ahead and opt for the Hey. Again, Hey will survive this Flynn, whereas Stitch would die to it, which is my one real issue with Stitch. And I'm with the Be Prepared in hand, too. I'm actually kind of okay discarding it, because... Again, I anticipate an Ursula throwing it away anyway. Opponent does the Simba Bodyguard effect. And here's where actually is a better use of this. Where at first I was like, okay, we'll run Stitch into the Simba. Yeah, Stitch dies, but who cares? Now I can attack with Hey, clear the board, and Hey is still alive, which is very good. Again, unfortunately, I don't really have much to build into. I can Flaversham next turn, but with no items, what's the point? Opponent opts for a Morph, and we get a very timely Popsicle. Not enough to use it with Tamatoa. I feel okay letting the Queen go with the Hey sitting on board. I opt to quest with it, which I probably shouldn't have because he can shift Morph something and just attack it. But I'm also figuring whatever he shifts, yeah, assuming it's something big, if he wants to not quest and attack my chicken instead, I'm actually kind of okay with that. So I've got a choice between Flaversham and the Manor. I opt to go for the Manor. I just don't, and because I can immediately move Hey there and drain 1 lore. So again, there's one of the benefits. And here I am questing because I do say, hey, if you want to waste Rockstar Stitch to attack this chicken, who again has more than done his job, by all means, feel free. Opts for Pride Lands and Lilo both get exerted with Rockstar Stitch, so he gets to card draw. Although it looks like he might have messed up and done Simba naturally. This is a cool little combo. I like the Pride Lands. Simba, can make stuff cheaper there. Give all of your bodies more health. He is kind of walking right into a Be Prepared, but I'm okay with that. And he doesn't, again, a deck like this, I don't have to worry about them hitting the Manor too much. That's really cool, though. I love the free movement over there with the I'll Find My Way. Here we have Flaversham with the Quill. It's a little late for the Quill. Like, I could do it, but yeah, usually you really want that Quill early. So here, I just have to put some damage on the Pride Lands. Now it's set for Maui. And I don't put out Flaversham because I am planning to Be Prepared next turn. And I want Flaversham after the Be Prepared to hopefully get more than just 1 draw off of more than just the Popsicle if I draw no more items. And here's where the locations are nice, as I'm just kind of naturally ramping up. Now, he does get to take advantage of a little Pluto strain here, but again, I know I'm Be Preparing next turn anyway, so if it weren't for Be Prepared, that would have been great for him. Get 4 characters out, which he can do because they're all cheaper because of the Simba Pride Lands buff. He actually opts to not quest and just run into my... Maybe he's anticipating to Be Prepared because he does go after my manor. And here's an instance when locations can really work for you. Yeah, Be Prepared. Great board, but now it's gone. Now I'm ready on my follow-up turn to Maui the Pride Lands if I really want to, but also I'm getting ahead with the McDuck Manor. So I just, okay, we'll take this out. The Queen isn't nearly as threatening when she doesn't have a partner to give the buff to, because if she quests, she can steal from Maui, but there's no one she can give it to take advantage of, so she definitely needs a partner. And I still have Flaversham waiting in the wings to take advantage of the Popsicle. And the whole time, that good old McDuck Manor is just... Yeah, so he lowers Maui's attack, which is... All right, yeah, I mean, that's fine. He only hits for 2, but there's nothing for him to attack anyway because he didn't exert any cards, so... Doesn't do a whole lot. Yep, and I go ahead and move them both into the mansion just so they're nice and comfy. He can send both of them into the manor if he wants to get rid of them, or I guess he could quest with the Queen, but they're exposed regardless. And I do have 2 forms of removal waiting in the wings. Yeah, in situations like this, he does get rid of the manor. Unfortunate for me. There's Simba with the bodyguard. I have another manor. If I inked it, I mean, I can play Tremaine or Hades regardless. So I have Maui take out the Simba because if I just play Tremaine, he's going to just get rid of the Simba. It's a bodyguard. Now I make him choose probably the Queen's more valuable. He just concedes. Just like, all right, well, that's it. Yeah, you're too far ahead at that point. All right, next we are going against another Ruby Amethyst, but it's okay because we have Maleficent in our opening hand as the gods have foretold. And I just say, yeah, I'll just keep it. Cycle away Nick Wilde to get the only other Nick Wilde in the deck. I'm like, okay, yeah. This isn't amazing. I do have nothing to hide, so I can scout his hand. He knows the power of the turn 1 Maleficent, so we are on equal footing. I thought I would have the advantage there, but he also knows its power. I don't have a turn 2 play, which is unfortunate. It's far too early to Tamatoa, but this is a good match. You'll get to see the Heart of Tefiti, because that's essentially going to be my ramp plan, is use the Heart of Tefiti, and you'll get to see both what's good about it and what's bad about it. So he's obviously setting up his board. Setting up some lore. I get another Tamatoa. All the late game stuff. I just go ahead and get rid of Nick. He's worthless without a Popsicle. And I opt for the Fish Hook here. And the reason is because... Why did I? I think I'm just trying to set up for the Maui, knowing I have to attack. See, and here's where the Heart of Tefiti... Like, if I'd put out Tefiti, the next turn, if I have to spend 2 to ramp up, and I still can't do anything else, that's all I've done for that turn. So I like the card, but man, it just feels so slow. And now I feel really good about the Fish Hook, knowing he has the Mini Surfer. It's like, okay, I'm going to have a way to deal with Evasive. Plus, none of these characters hit super hard, so now I'm just putting out the McDuck Manor, saying, all right, well, deal with this. Hope he quests with the Minnie Mouse, which he does, which means Maui's going to come out and do some work. And he's got another Minnie Mouse Evasive. Without Maui and the Fish Hook specifically, I would be very worried here. I just inked the Fishbone Quill. It's too late at this point, plus I've got the heart. So here comes Maui. The Fish Hook can be used for free when Maui's on board, so we give him Evasive, which is nice now because he can't counter Maui, or he can't counter with the Fox without his own Fish Hook. So he can send the Minnie Mouse into it, but that ain't going to work so hot without like a Challenger Crab, which he doesn't have. Pinocchio, okay, yeah, you can exert him, but... And right now, the Mini is the only real threat. Everything else is only questing for 1, and the Manor is very slowly getting me stuff in the background. So now I say, okay, it's time for the Heart. Put down the Heart, ramp up to 6, give him Evasive again, take out the Mini. That's 2 bodies. Maui is taken out. I'm debating. I would like to ink here, but I know that I can still be prepared next turn if I absolutely have to, because I can just ink and then do it. Which looks like I may, because I believe he's going quite wide here. Although I could very slowly keep picking at this stuff with Maui. I don't remember what I choose to do. Nick, yep, worthless without Popsicles, so sorry, Mr. Fox, you gotta go. So you know what? I say, all right, let's just put out both manors. I'll just keep chipping away at this board, I have the Be Prepared in my pocket, and Be Prepared with 2 locations is huge because now I've wiped out their entire board and I'm just sitting on those locations like, all right, well, now what are you going to do? So there's, okay, so perfect example. He has Madame Medusa. Maui doesn't care about that card. If that was Tremaine, Maui would have died. Obviously, it won't matter for the grand scheme of the game because we know I have the Be Prepared in hand, but in case I didn't, like, that could have been huge. No point in having Maui do anything. Use the Be Prepared. And here I think I opt to ink the bell and just use the Heart of Tefiti, go up to 9. And just sitting on my mansions like, all right, well, I'm still going to get passive 4 lore every turn, so. Ooh, and they drops the goat. I'm like, oh no, not the goat. Can we? But we go up to 14. Hey is surprisingly a good top deck alongside Flaversham. So at this point, I don't need the ink anymore. So let's go and break the Heart of Tefiti. We get another manner. So we do Hey. I make sure I have enough. Yep. I ink the Cogsworth. We get a 3rd manner, move to 1 to drain him by 1. So now he has to, now a bounce replay of the goat. He has to quest bounce replay, which again, still very possible. He could have had the all he needed was a fox or a dragon in hand. Nope. He's got Be Prepared, but guess what? I'm sitting on 6 manners, sir. That's a victory. So yeah, there's a match where you can really see the power of the manners and that how they work well with Be Prepared, and by extension, why your opponent's locations work well against Be Prepared, because you may wipe out all those locations, or you may wipe out all those characters, sorry, but you're not hitting those locations. So that wasn't really a great game. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of tempo, but just through the fishhook, through the Maui, through the manners, we kind of got there. And that's an instance where, because I didn't have much in hand to refill, the Heart of Tefiti actually ended up being pretty decent. All right, here we go against another Ruby Amethyst, the terror of the metagame. No turn 1 Maleficent, so we already know this hand isn't very good. We do have a Popsicle, though. And a Hey, that's not bad, so I go ahead and get rid of those. There she is! Hey, there's our turn 1 Maleficent. Yeah, cannot start a game without her. Nope, our opponent doesn't know the power of the opening hand Maleficent. That's okay, we'll show them. Ta-da! Look at that 1 ink. Beautiful. And I just opt to pass because I know that I'm not sending Hey out against an Olaf. I'm just going to use the hat and the free Popsicle next turn. Is there a reason to do that? No. I absolutely could have still just played Popsicle. I just wanted to. I guess you could argue technically it's the better play to play it out in case something happens that I need to put out Hey. But yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, I guess I'm getting the Popsicle at the same rate anyway, so I might be considering, I know I considered Hey just because it's a decent counter to Rafiki, but yeah, here we go. I like this too because now the Fishbone Quill is 2, which unfortunately I won't have anything to take advantage of that currently in hand, but just in case I were to draw, like, I don't know, Fish Hook or just another top hat, a Popsicle, something I can use, the line is there. And for the most part, I'm not too overly worried about these 2 cards. They only quest for 1 apiece. He'll likely just bounce them back anyway at some point. And there's the Surfer. No Fish Hook this time. But we do have Be Prepared, and we can scale, so we play the Fishhook for 2, again, which is great if you have any other item to follow up on this with, because you have 2 extra ink this turn instead of the normal 1. Our opponent, sensing I'm not putting any pressure on them, just goes ahead and quests out, says, all right, well, let's see what you got here. Our opponent knows the sauce. They put out their own Fishhook, so I'm like, okay, so I get a free Popsicle off the hat, which is nice. Another Quill, which I don't really need. On occasion, I'll put out an additional Quill just to build up Tamatoa's numbers, but usually I try to do that later. So I do opt to get rid of Maui here. I consider I don't have the Quill, or I don't have the hook, so I can't run him into Minnie Mouse. And you can tell I'm debating Flaversham because I know I'm aiming to Be Prepared anyway. But I feel okay with Flaversham if I'm getting at least 2 draws out of him, which is what I'm aiming for right now, right? I'll break 1 on entry, he'll quest, and then I Be Prepared. So he did still draw me 4 cards. That I'm okay with. Otherwise, I wait a turn and... Plus, hopefully this, I don't know if this works or not, but hopefully it kind of maybe makes him think I'm not going to be prepared because I'm committing my own bodies that, oh, okay, well, maybe he's not going to do that. And he puts a goat down, which I'm actually okay with because this means at least he can't bounce it because I'm going to kill the damn thing. So first, always quest with the Flaversham first. Give yourself the most options. See what you draw. I've got a follow-up Flaversham. That feels pretty good. I definitely still want to ramp. I go ahead and get rid of 1 Tamatoa's. I've got a second. Use the Be Prepared. And now he goes to 13, but he's only got 2 in hand, and I am set up for Tamatoa, and I've got Bell and the Dime. So I'm at 1 lore right now. I'm set up to do quite the lore jump. Nick is okay at this point because I have Popsicle, but I tend to just... Tamatoa is essentially a better Nick. So yep, we get to play the Popsicle for free. There's another Be Prepared. And I think I might even quill the Be Prepared because at this point, I don't want to get rid of my own forwards. Or maybe I quill the Bell or the Flabber. Maybe I just hold. I don't know. Yeah, I just hold. Because I had considered quilling the Be Prepared, but I was like, just in case if he like floods the board and I absolutely have to answer it with a board wipe, then let's hold on to it just in case. But we are set up for a monster turn. He can't run the rabbit into anything. He can give it evasive with the hook. He knows the sauce, but that's okay. I'm not planning to attack it. So if you looked at just the lore right now, I'm not in a good spot, right? 14-1. 14-1. That's no good. Opponent passes, and behold, this is the power of this combination. Get another lucky dime, which I don't need to. Drop the lucky dime. We quest for 7 there. Get back a Popsicle. Play the Popsicle. Lucky dime Tamatoa. Boom. 16 lore. 16 freaking lore. So I just want you to take that in for so I was at 1 lore, and in 1 turn I went to 16 because that's just the power of Tamatoa with the dime in that combination. And now, because I have Bell in hand, and again, he doesn't have any Ivan, even if he answers this Tamatoa, even if he wipes the board, it doesn't matter. I drop Bell, boom, quest, immediate 5, game's over. So, I mean, it looked like 1 turn ago, I looked like I wasn't even in this, at least from a lore standpoint. Obviously, you can see my hand, but from a lore standpoint, it's like, well, he's not really in this, and this guy's got Rabbit. He's going to draw cards, right? There's Maui. He's got the fish hook. Hey, he answers to Tamatoa. Well done. 9 damage to Tamatoa. He's like, nope, you're not having that anymore. It was a good play, but not good enough. Here comes Bell. Look at that. Instant 5 lore game. Bell is so much better with the dime because she just gets that instant power. Again, she always had to sit there for a full turn. That's not great. With the Bell, or with the dime, it's so satisfying to pull off. Our final match is against the green-purple terror of the meta. Here we have a bit of a weird one, way too early for the dime. I usually don't like to have uninkables in my opening hand, other than the hat. The hat obviously has a good setup. I keep the Nick just because it does go into the Popsicle line. I get another Nick and a Popsicle. Now, we do not have our turn 1 Maleficent. I think it's the only game we didn't get it, so obviously we're going to struggle because of that. But here, you'll get to see the power of Popsicle, hat Popsicle. And yeah, it's basically everything I have in my hand right now is Popsicle. No ramp, which is unfortunate, but also no songs. I originally did try a few copies of... is it How Far I'll Go, the Moana song, that puts a card in your hand and puts one in the inkwell, which is really good, but it's just, yeah, it dies to the Ursula. So now, I put out the top hat, make the Popsicle free. Feels very good. And I have the Stitch too, so I am ready to take out these Cursed Merfolk. Stitch is great against Cursed Merfolk, Pluto, Baloo, any of these cards, characters that don't deal damage back, because then the Stitch lives. And if Stitch is taking out 2 things, he has more than done his job. This is really nice too that I was on the play, because otherwise the Merfolk would have already been exerted, and I might have done the hat there instead, or the Stitch instead of the hat. Opponent opts for Cusco and Quest. I know I'm ready to take out those Merfolk. Of course, I will have to give up a card. I think I just give up a Nick Wild. Yeah, I don't need 2 of them. And I know I have Flaversham with the Popsicles to refill my hand. So this is great. Now, yeah, he can crash this Cusco into the Stitch, but you're okay with it. The longer the games take, the better it is for you. This deck tends to have really good late game control, as you saw with the way you can just steal games with the Lucky Dime and just get so much lure out of nowhere. So in my head, I'm like, go ahead, please crash Cusco into the Stitch. Or even better, swap it for a Fox and waste a Fox on it. So opponent inks a snake, drops a Cheshire Cat, and opts to quest with the Cusco instead. And for me, I'm thinking, well, so the cat will kill the Stitch. I considered there I could run the Queen into Cusco, but I'm just not that worried about it. Again, I kind of want to accelerate what I'm doing. We have Flaversham. Get more Tamatoa than we certainly can hold at one time, but that's okay. And I'm willing to crash the Stitch into the cat. Yeah, it does banish it, but I don't want him to... Again, you want to keep them off as much lure as possible. Cusco's going to get him a card at some point anyway. He does drop an Arthur, which is a little scary. There's a part of me that's like, ooh, do I need to save for the Arthur? We dig a little deeper with Flaversham. Get another Popsicle, which is nice, because we can play it for free. Other than that, not amazing. I opt for, I think, the Manor here. Start putting on my own lore pressure, plus I now have Hey Hey. Hey Hey can potentially steal a lore, which I may need. I still opt to take out the cat. I'm kind of okay if he bounces the Cusco with the Arthur, because then he's not getting the draw value off of it. The Arthur does worry me a little bit, and there's, again, you could argue, well, maybe you just wait for the Arthur to exert. But he may not have exerted the Arthur in the presence of the Stitch, so... He does go for a goat, which is very annoying. I thought he was going to goat Arthur, which was like, oh my god, like that combination's obnoxious. But he opts not to. Here's an instance I do choose to play the Quill, even though it's a little later. I want to try to ramp towards either Tamatoa or Be Prepared. And I have the Flaversham now for the item draw, so I actually feel okay with this. I'd consider holding the Bell. I don't really need the Nick Wild because I know I can get to Tamatoa. So what I actually have to do is just drop the Hey Hey, siphon one lore off of him, because especially with that Arthur Goat combination, I'm like, ooh, I just any little bit of lore I can get back. I definitely need to do that. He goes quite wide with Maleficent and Pinocchio. He's got the Arthur and the Goat, and I'm just thinking, oh boy, I really need to be prepared now. I don't have time to do Tamatoa Dime, which is all that always comes down to, is the time. Is, again, when people go fast like this is what gets you in trouble. So I need to be prepared above all else. I opt to put a single Tremaine isn't going to do much. He'll just get rid of Cusco or whatever he feels like. Flaversham, unfortunately, is a bad challenger. So the option here is, okay, I got enough. Let's see if I can find the Be Prepared. Nope. I've got one more chance with a nothing to hide. He's got Goat, Pinocchio, Fox, and hey, look at what we drew. Whoo! Thank goodness. Be Prepared. Reset the board. Didn't snipe the Goat, unfortunately, but again, here's an instance where the Manor is quite nice, as now I am going to be passively catching up to him. And for the most part, he doesn't have a ton of cards to deal with it. I opt to get rid of the Fish Hook, as I saw his hand. He doesn't have anything that Maui can't just hit anyway, and at this point, my plan is to just Tamatoa Dime win and just end the game in 2 turns. So I give up the Fish Hook just to get more, and I want as much ink as possible for that. So he goes white again. He drops the Goat. Hey, a Maleficent Dragon we can actually use. I check his lore. I'm doing the math because I know he has a Fox in hand, right? So if he quests with the Goat and quests with Maleficent, he'll go to 17, and if he bounces the Goat, he'll go to 18. However, he is only on 5 ink. So I know that even if he does that, he can't replay the Goat in the same turn. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just win in 2 turns off Tamatoa and what's it called? Tamatoa Lucky Dime. Now here I actually get the Quill because I just want as much ink as possible. Again, I have made my decision. I threw out my removal. I said, okay, I'm going to win before you do. I am going to Tamatoa you next turn and just win with the Lucky Dime. He checks my hand and he sees the fate that awaits him. He does bounce, so he goes to as much ink as he possibly can. Goes to 18, so now it is kind of Be Prepared or bust, or just, Tamatoa Lucky Dime, which is the plan. So we play the dime for 6. Tamatoa, quest up to 16, get a popsicle, play a popsicle. Oh, that's right, Tamatoa's worth 5 lore. Bo-do-do-doom. Not bad, huh? Not bad, man. Yeah, I love this just because it, again, gives this deck a top end it just didn't have before. And you can see, we beat up some Ruby Amethyst decks. Honestly, my biggest issue is I tend to draw the cards in a terrible order. I'm always seeing the Maleficent Dragon early. But if you can get the popsicles, you can hold off that early aggression to get to that ramp. Tamatoa Lucky Dime Bell is just, it's brutal. It's a fun deck. I've had so much fun with it. I really enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you tried this deck? Have you tried other versions of Lucky Dime? And if you have any suggestions for something that maybe I didn't think of, I did try the Audrey Ramirez card. Which one is it? Because the idea is like, oh, what if you Lucky Dime once, quest with her, ready to Lucky Dime, and do it again? Like, pretty brutal, but it just never worked out in practice. I was never able to set it up. So anyway, that's where it is. Let me know what you think about it. Hope you enjoyed watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, take care.